Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the PCT podcast. We are joined by Conor Marlin, current head of coaching at Oldham Athletic. Conor talks to us about his career to date, including his time spent with the Northern Ireland national team. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and if you like what we are bringing to you, please feel free to leave a review. Good evening, Conor. Thank you for joining us today here at PCT. How are you and the family?
Hi Martin, thanks very much. I'm very well actually. I'm enjoying some time at home with my family, which is a rare thing nowadays because life's 24/7. So it's been quite refreshing. Obviously, I would like to get out and about and football, but when you put things in perspective, like I'm lucky to be around my family, and it's a change of environment nearly for me as well. So I'm coping all right. Thanks.
So what are you doing just to keep yourself busy during the lockdown? Are you managing to get yourself into a routine or?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good routine. Morning and up to lunchtime, I'm doing an MBA, so I'm doing my project in that around coaching methodology. So that's a lot of reading, writing, yeah, keep me busy. Webinars, and then every day at 4 o'clock, me and my dad go for a walk, and my mum comes most days. So, excuse me, yeah, decent routine. Evening time, watch something on Netflix as well. So. Narcos is the one at the minute. Narcos Mexico. Me and my dad are watching that, so nice to spend time with my family.
Yeah, we're watching something called The Good Doctor at the minute. It's
okay.
It's about an autistic doctor. Really good viewing, to be fair. If that's something you want to add to the list.
Yeah.
Just sort of moving on. Can you just tell the listeners a brief sort of introduction about yourself and what your current role is, if that's okay?
Yeah. From my accent, you'll tell I'm not from the club or the area that I work from, but head of coaching at Oldham Athletic, originally from Northern Ireland. Been living in England 3.5 years or so, and moved over for football. Previously, did a lot of different things that we'll go on to talk about, I'm sure. In Northern Ireland, heavily involved with the Irish FA for 10 years or so, and then took the plunge to go to England, and that's where I'm at now as head of coaching. So I'm enjoying it.
Good stuff. Am I right in saying that you're a Newcastle fan as well?
Yeah, for my sins now. See, I used to be proud to say that back in the day because they were good, like Shearer and Ferdinand up front, Ginola, Gillespie. Yeah. Now they're terrible to watch. Like honestly, I wouldn't watch them if they're on TV.
No.
So they're just the style of play was what got me, and I regret it a wee bit because my brother supported Man United, and just thinking if I hadn't moved from Man United, the amount of times I'd have enjoyed like winning leagues and Champions League, and I've had 2 FA Cup defeats. We Man United actually definitely one of them with Man United. So yeah, once you pick your team, you can't change. So that's just the way it is. Hopefully, better days are on the horizon.
I was going to say with the takeover coming in, it's a bit of exciting times to be a Newcastle fan.
Yeah, well, certainly it sounds like they're going to throw a few quid at it. So, and that's what's needed to get we need to get some world class players in. Because unfortunately, we've solid Premier League players, but want to be pushing up near Europe and going on cup runs and stuff. So it'll be an interesting summer because on this whole COVID situation, I don't think many clubs will be spending as much as they usually do. And then Newcastle will be the PSG a couple of years ago, maybe, where they messed the market up with the Neymar transfer. Newcastle might go big with something, similar. So, or maybe not Neymar, but you know what I mean, like a big transfer.
Neymar would be nice. If that comes off, then we'll ask you for the lottery numbers as well. If that
yeah.
So obviously you're saying you're a career coaching, head of coaching at the minute now. When was it you got yourself into coaching, and what was it that drew you into the coaching?
So I did my first coaching badge at 16. When I was younger, I wanted to be a PE teacher. Always very sporty, playing a lot of different sports and played football, like up to semi-pro level. And at 16, my dad was like, right, start preparing for your, done my GCSE, start preparing your UCAS form. You need to put stuff down for it. So started volunteering coaching, did my first coaching badge, and then it just sort of grew from there. And found I wasn't enjoying playing as much because the ball was like this. I played centre mid, so my neck was sore rather than anything else. Looking for the ball, and wasn't enjoying playing as much. Was really enjoying coaching, and then opportunities just kept coming for me, and then just in hindsight, I regret a wee bit not stick in playing as long, but I wouldn't have got the professionally, the level I've got to now without making those sacrifices and choices then. So that's when you weigh it up. Like, I was never going to play pro, so.
So you mentioned that obviously not enjoying the game due to obviously the tennis there. Has that played a big part maybe in the way that you coach now?
Certainly, yeah. And that was what really drove me to help younger players, because even coaching at the time my local boys club and grassroots club, and yeah, we had some decent players, and I just wanted to try and help them, because I felt like I never got coached. I remember working under a guy who was a really great man manager and like got me really enthused about the game, but I didn't feel like I was ever coached. I played other sports as well, but for football, I didn't feel like I ever got coached. So that's where I was like, just something inside me, I just thought this is what I want to do.
It resonates quite with me because I was never good enough to play myself. And thinking back on it now, whenever I was sub or didn't play, there was never a reason why, or it was just thought I was wrong. Never a reason or a way I could get better at that. I think that's something that certainly pushed me on in coaching. Would you say that's something that plays on your mind?
I'd say, yeah, just wanting to see the game play a different way. Like it'd be a lot different growing up now because of the level of coach education. Like even the games program, for example, has changed massively from whenever I was a kid. So I think it would be a different setup now. And like there was county excellence programs, it was called. Whenever I was coaching, starting off my coaching stuff, so that had just come in. So there was like different things, different steps rather than just grassroots and elite. There's steps have been added along the way, like a top league and stuff now. So I think for a kid now, it's much better to have those sort of aspirations to go, because when you're playing at just at an okay level, there wasn't the tiering system, so you can't really. The next step is so far away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be sort of my outlook on it, really.
Just going back to saying your education side, you've got both a BSc in sports exercise and science and master's degree in sports management. Just tell us about those courses and sort of anything that you struggled with your coaching.
Yeah.
Did you find anything that sort of interrupted it?
Well, to be fair, on my final year of uni, I was hardly ever there because I was always away with Northern Ireland. So I was treated like an elite athlete, only I was a coach. Yeah. And to be fair, the university were fantastic with me. Like I've been very lucky, both getting mentored, and then getting like I got grants and stuff, off the uni.
How old were you at this time, Con? If you don't
mind. 19, I think I went to uni at, or 18. 19 I was, yeah. 19 till 22 or so. When I was doing undergrad, and then did a master's, and then worked, and eventually I'm completing an MBA, sort of distance learning type thing, which fingers crossed will be done this year. But and before this COVID's over. But yeah, no, the university experience was just growing up in life, and then I think it's helped me think rationally. Like obviously, I learned quite a lot in sports science and sports management. I got a first in my sports science degree, so I was quite proud of that. And but the application of it, I think it's the thought processes and the ability to think rationally and differently and see things from both sides and stuff has probably been the biggest things I've taken away from uni, because you learn some content, but unless you're a practicing sports scientist, it's general knowledge I have now. I wouldn't say obviously I'm not elite at sports science. I don't work in that field, but it's good to have that and be able to relate, because when I'm talking to some of our staff, like with some part-time staff on an S&C basis, and I know enough to challenge them and check and challenge them in a positive way. And obviously then when it comes to our own planning and periodization of training, then I've got an understanding and knowledge to help on that front as well. So
I was just about to sort of butt in and ask if they have helped influence the way that you are as a head of coaching, and how you deal with your staff that way. But you pretty much answered that, to be fair.
You mean the sports science team? And
yeah, just with you having, you mentioned there that you've got a bit of knowledge to be able to sort of dip in and check and challenge what they're doing and how it can sort of strengthen their work. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
for them that's a massive thing to be able to bounce off.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And likewise, I bounced off them for ideas as well. So we've quite a decent team of staff, like, and we're working relatively well. Like, everybody's new, or not everybody, but majority of staff are new, have been new in this season just past. So yeah, so everybody's been finding each other out now and was working quite well before the COVID situation hit.
It's just throwing a massive spanner in the works for everyone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you spent time working with the Northern Irish Football Association. So what roles did you have in there? How did you manage to get in and ultimately stay in?
Yeah, how long have you got here? Yeah, so yeah, going back when I said I was like 16 and coming through coaching at club level, and they started a new excellence program. It was like county based, so there's 6 counties in Northern Ireland, and each county had a head coach full time, and then had assistants and coaches and whatever. So a friend of mine I went to school with, he was going to volunteer. Just to get in around the junior international setups, and he said to me about doing it, so I was like, I'll go. So I went and met the head coach and just said, can I come and volunteer and be around it? And that progressed to, did that for a year, then became a assistant coach getting paid, then managed an age group, and that county head coach Paul Key ended up becoming my mentor. And like, I passed my B and A license very young, and that wouldn't happen. The development I got from him was unbelievable. Like, and if anybody asks me, I always say Paul Key's been amazing to my career. Like, he's always ahead of the game, and even I keep up in contact with him regularly because I'm always learning nothing still. He's top drawer, like. But yeah, so he was a Northern Ireland under-17 manager, and that was my breakthrough actually in the international football. It was a stroke of luck. I think everybody needs a bit of luck, whether it's playing or coaching, to get an opportunity. So my first trip was Lilleshall, and we were doing the international training camp before the European Championships, and the kit man had got sick. Okay. And he's like, he was stuck, and he's like, would you come and do the kit for me? And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't really want to be a kit man. He's like, I know, but listen, your foot's in the door, so, show us what you can do. If you can add more things to your bow, we're a small association. If you can do multiple roles, then you're going to be an asset to us. So I was like, right, okay, brilliant. So I went as officially kitman, but then I was taking parts of sessions. I was doing like leading like even small parts of practices, doing some of the sports science support, doing a bit of everything. And then he was just like, we really need him running around it. The staff were talking about it. So like Tommy Wright was a goalkeeping coach actually. The guy Pascal Vodaquin, who's out in Vietnam at the minute. That was it. And then I became just an assistant coach who looked after that for that trip, because the guy was away, and then he went and asked to increase his budget for the next trip to have me involved. So yeah, that then my first international was Greece away, and Ryan McLaughlin was 14. I remember that. It was September time, roasting Athens. They built the Olympics there, obviously. So it must have been, what year would this have been? 2000, probably 4 or 5 years after the Olympics, something like that. And it was like a ghost town. It was a white elephant. They literally, for the game, they had to turn the electric on for the stadium. Like, I didn't know how much of at that point, I didn't realize how much money Greece had wasted on facilities. There was like a massive facility for baseball, softball. We were in the football stadium, and there was another one. I just remembered. I was like, oh my word, they've wasted some money here. So yeah, that was my first international, and then did a good job with Paul. I got asked then to go with the under 21s, and Steve Beaglehole, who's now at Leicester, and was at Leicester then too actually. Was 19s to 21s manager. He asked me then to come with him. Did one game with him as a sports scientist, and then he asked me if he wanted me with all the trips. So then at one point, this was my final year of uni, I was away like all the time,
right? Okay.
With different teams. So that then that took me international wise for a while, and then eventually I progressed to getting into the actual being one of the coaches. So I managed a team when I was 26. Took it under 16 team. Jordan Thompson, Stoke fan. Jordan was in my first international. Yeah, I'll never forget. We beat Malta in my first game. And that trip we got food poisoning. So if you're ever talking to Jordan, he'll remember that one. We played Cyprus and Greece, and I'll never forget being so ill at the side of the pitch. I couldn't even stand up for the game. Half the team was sick. Jordan was I think Jordan might have been sick at the airport on the way back. We got food poisoning the day before the last game. Oh my God, it was horrible, horrible. But yeah, so I progressed through the different teams and then ended up managing under 18 schoolboys for 3 years with a guy, Frankie Wilson, with some good times there. And actually, there's something about people from Northern Ireland, right? And referees in Northern Ireland. I'm not one to blame referees, but we lost 3 games in 3 years at home, right? All by one goal and all by a penalty. So we had like 20 something games as international manager and never got one penalty for us. And every year we had, I know, it's so frustrating. So we should have won. I'm not one to blame referees, but that was a sore point for me because I wanted to lift the Centenary Shield. And yeah, so then coming out of uni as well, I went straight into the Irish FA and ran the school's FA as a development officer. And then Jim Magilton came in as performance director. And we started up a new program called Club NI, Elite Development. And I ran that and was involved coaching various teams and doing lots. And I designed the program and managed it, and Jim was the director overseeing it. So I had a lot of responsibility and enjoyed it. Like, but I worked so hard then, and didn't realize how exhausted I was until I stopped. Like, and I took a month off before moving to Manchester.
I was going to say, so 19, final year uni when it started, 26, managing an international side. Must have been a whirlwind sort of 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, to be fair, it was probably 21, my first international trip, and then 26 manager for the first time, yeah. Because it was final year of uni, it went, I think, 2009, 8, 9, somewhere around then. I was heavily involved.
Not a bad start to a career. I've obviously done a little bit of background. You've had previous roles in analysis as well. Is that something that you picked up at your time with Northern Ireland?
Yeah. So again, I forgot about that actually. Now you say that. Yeah. So that was one of the bigger roles. So I actually came in on the first couple of trips. I was like sports scientist, and then I was doing a wee bit of coaching. And they were like, "Can you do the video analysis?" And I was like, "Yeah, just show me what I need, how to use the software." So trained me up on that, and then I was doing all the analysis for all the teams, opposition, our own stuff. So I was working under some brilliant coaches. It was phenomenal for me, to be honest. Stephen Craigan, Stephen Robinson, Michael O'Neill came in, and he was breath of fresh air. Biggs, as I said before, and then Paul Key, through and Pascal Volquin. So through my time, I've worked with some really top coaches, and that doing the analysis, because not coming from a player, like an ex-player background, it's hard to get in. Mm-hmm. And I was able to do things that other people, when they were all ex-players, weren't really interested in doing, in terms of the analysis side of things. Obviously, they want out of the game, but actually all the back of the work, I was able to do that and supplement them. So then you're having football conversations and you're able to show what you know. So and give advice and whatnot, and just be part of a coaching team. So it was fantastic. And then the other advantage I had was because I was young, I was closer to the lads' age. So like Paul, when he asked to increase his budget to get me involved, wanted me to be involved as well, and have a bit of a welfare element to it, because the lads will come and talk to me because I'm closer to the age. I remember coming back from a trip and working with under 17s is an interesting age from kids from Northern Ireland moving to England, because it's the first time they're moving away from home. Mm-hmm. It's such a change. That first 6 months of being a young scholar is difficult, but when you're living away from home and not knowing anybody, it's really difficult. So that's why they thought it was really important me working with them, because we would have an international September, Euros, October, November, and that first period in particular, you see different changes. You get some of them thinking they're Jack the Lad and, carrying the Louis Vuitton wash bags and, even though they're in 70 quid a week.
Headphones.
Yeah. So managing them and trying to mentor them and doing that was something that was seen as a real string to my bow from the senior staff. Nigel Worthington was the senior manager at the time, and Paul went to him about me, and then Michael kept me involved for many reasons, and that was one of the big things, being able to relate to lads because I was closer to their age. And that's it. I was going to tell you actually a story there. So we're coming back from a trip, and I remember the airport, just one of the players breaking down crying, saying he didn't want to go back to his club. I was like, oh, wow, wasn't expecting it.
It's quite interesting how you mentioned there that throughout your time you've sort of had varying roles, each adding value. Would you? It's one of the questions later on, but would you encourage young coaches to get involved and have that open mindset rather than looking at a certain path and saying, "Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm a coach"?
Hard to compare because I haven't done it the other way. But from my side, I would say, yeah. Sometimes I think like jack of all, master of none. But then listening to, like, I can't remember which podcast or book or whatever I was reading recently, and they were saying, top managers have got a real good grounding of other areas and wider experiences and stuff. So it sort of made me feel like, okay, that's nice to hear, because I do feel like I've been able to, I can relate to everybody in different roles because I've done pretty much every role. Assistant coach, head coach. I did like 2 or 3 trips as a kit man, like so I know if people are blagging it, sort of thing. So being able to, and I think that helps managing people too, because then you can relate. Like, I know what their job's like because I've done it, and then it means you can talk on their level, and then if you're able to do that, you're able to get more out of people. So in that sense, from my experience, I would say yes, but maybe somebody else would say different.
No.
We said different experience.
Fantastic sort of experience, and I'm going to say, it'll look amazing on your CV.
Thank you.
Am I right in saying you went over to Oldham as an analyst first?
Yeah. So Stephen Robinson was, when Biggs left to be 20, or moved from the 21s manager. Robbo became 21s under Michael, and he added me to staff straight away. I was with Robbo with the, I think, under 16s, and he was coaching as a county excellence coach as well. So I was in his network, if you like, locally, and then he would always have me involved with everything. He was 17 at one point. He was 17s, 19s, 21s, and I was 17s, 19s, just because I was on his staff, because he wanted me around him, because of all the things we just spoke about. And so I forgot what the question now was. What was it? I was off on a ramble. Oh yeah, Oldham. Sorry. Yeah. So Robbo then got the opportunity to be manager at Oldham, and they phoned me and offered me the role. So that was my way in, and I needed something like that. I had taken a bit of a bold move in one regard, because I'd like left my role at IFA and just went, right, I'm going to give myself 2 months to try and get something here, because I felt like I was about, I think I was around 30 or so at that time. And I thought, if I don't leave now, I'll never leave, because Jim Magilton was performance director. He wasn't going to leave anytime soon. He was the only one above me. If he did leave, I probably wouldn't get the job because I'm not a big name. So I thought, like, right, what are you going to do here? So I said England was choice number one, or abroad, America, Australia, Asia, whatever I could get, even just going coaching like a, there's a lot of jobs going in China at that point. I was willing to do anything just to get a life experience.
Yeah.
Because you could always come, home's always home, and I'll always, eventually get work here. I think so. That was my chance to, and Robbo offered me the job then at Oldham, and again, it was probably realistically the only opportunity I would get at such a young age to be in around the first team.
Mm-hmm.
So that experience has been invaluable too. Again, Ian Barclough was assistant manager, and Stephen Robinson is now at Motherwell, and possibly these two are favourites for the senior Northern Ireland job, actually. But yeah, so that was my chance to work in around that environment, seeing top pros like Peter Clark play and learning off him, speaking to him. Like Clark, I still speak to him regularly, and what a top player he was. And now from working with him, seeing some of the bits and analysing his performance and analysing players he was playing against, just doing that on a regular basis has just helped me, my knowledge of improve me to then give to the current youth team which I coach. So yeah, it's been a good grounding, to be fair. And I wouldn't, oh, it's not that I want to go back in that field, but if the opportunity to work under a top coach came, and I had to do that to get that experience, I would do it. Like I was nearly going to work for Carlos Queiroz a couple of times, fell through last minute. So like that would have been unbelievable, you know. So if stuff like that is what you need to do to get yourself in the next level, then I'll be willing to do it.
After your time with Oldham, working for Double Pass, what did that entail?
Yeah, so I've worked in England for a season and then the US for 2 seasons. Assessing academies, so you're going around in England, it's based on the EPPP, but it's also based around the double pass model of talent development. And then the US is similar. You're looking at the rules around the USSF and their academy league, but mainly around the pass model, it's called, their football model. So yeah, it's been fantastic experience watching coaches work. You know, I've been over 30 clubs, so seeing coaches, pro license, A license, B, you know, top coaches work and deliver different type of sessions has been really invaluable. The American market it was an interesting one. Like the MLS clubs are getting their act together in many ways, and I've seen some really good coaches and some really good practice there and stuff I've taken from there, thinking and I have applied then back at Oldham, so and stuff that I would apply as we go. So yeah, assessing, and the thing about that role is as well, you're giving them effectively constructive feedback and criticism. So you have to know what you're saying to be able to criticize somebody effectively, because that's what some people will consider. Like if I'm saying you haven't done this, and they're saying they have, you have to be able to back it up why they haven't done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, part of the process is on site, few days interviewing staff, head coaches, which has been really good. Having some one-to-one conversations with like Nigel Clough at Burton Albion, he was brilliant. And across America as well, and England, and some really good ones. And then you do your on-site training games, end of the period, then you do your meetings, and then that's when you have to, you know, back up what you found. So you have to be able to give, you know what you're talking about and hold your corner, because there's money on the line in terms of the classification and things like that. So from the club side, you know, so sometimes people don't take it in the best way. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're brilliant. But either way, you have to know what you're saying to be able to justify and explain clearly what you mean.
Was there any big egos you sort of came across of, you know, the reason I relate to this, we're both coach mentors now for the FA, and I'm sure you've gone into clubs where they don't want help. Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
And it's usually the ones that kick back and say, no, eventually then start to want help. Was there anybody that you came across, and you don't have to name names, but was there times where it was a real struggle to give advice and help?
Yeah, there's been a couple that don't agree, let's say. But that's the thing. You know, if you're an academy director of a club and we're saying you haven't done this and he's saying I have, you have to be able to justify it. Now, I would say every meeting bar one came out the way, you know, they've come round. The one that didn't was because they were so emotional and were taking it personal and they weren't listening. So, which wasn't obviously the nicest of conversations, but that happens, and that's an anomaly rather than the norm. You know, generally people want to learn, want to give advice. If you think about it, like what an opportunity is to have somebody independent coming in and assessing what you're doing. So if you don't take it personal and be like, you know, that's invaluable. Like the federations and leagues paying for that, you know. I personally, I think it's great. Like, and we've had it obviously been assessed at Oldham, and I enjoy the process because I'm learning off them too. It's great. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that, you know. And you have got your processes, and you're doing X, Y, and Z, but there's always a way to get better. So everybody's always looking for the marginal gains, I think, and these processes can be really valuable.
So it sounds like you've racked up some real experience in a wide variation of roles. back then to Oldham, head of coaching. Again, a bit of travelling and a bit of away from home. How did the head of coaching role come about?
It was February last year I started. Just had to apply, and was asked would I be interested in the role. But yeah, had to apply and went through an interview process, and yeah, got the role. And at the time, to be fair, there was a massive changeover in Oldham. Like Tony Falskirk had been there for 20 odd years. He moved on to Burnley. And there's new ownership, and there was quite a clear out of staff. So whenever I started on my first day, there was me and one other guy. Because well, actually, sorry, that's wrong. Hull School started on the same day as me. For my first month, there was Pete Wilde and Chris Millington were the interim head coach and assistant manager. So they came back to the youth team and the academy. So for about a month, we had 4 people, and then they went back to the first team because Scholesy left after a month. And yeah, then it was me, and we got a secretary. It was just a there was a few circumstantial things happened all at one time that meant that the start of the process wasn't the easiest because we basically had no staff. But the positives of that is you're thrown in at the deep end and you either sink or swim, and we got there. Obviously, like everybody could have done things better, but we certainly did well for what we had at that point.
That's where you were. So, working in an academy, elite academy in England, and at international level, what would you say the differences are, or is there any differences between the two?
The international games program is obviously very good, depending who you're playing. Like, well, playing Portugal, and that was yeah, amazing. At Oldham, we're Cat 3, so our games program isn't particularly strong, I would say. So the level of games with Northern Ireland was higher. Like that Club NI program that we started, we were playing Barcelona, Real Madrid. Got a photo of me and Guti. We played Real Madrid under 14 in Spain a few years ago, and yeah, we ended up taking that into playing over 100 games. From the program had 0 game or about 10 games roughly, and we took that up to over 100 games within 18 months across like 7 age groups or something. So the games program there was phenomenal. The games program we have at Oldham it's Cat 3. It's all right, but Cat 1, 2s is obviously, and Cat 1 in particular, the games program's a lot stronger. So couldn't really compare because I haven't worked yet at that level, but international would have been better from my experience so far.
I mean, being a Stoke fan myself, you mentioned you work closely with current manager Michael O'Neill, who today, in fact, has announced he's coming away from the national team setup.
Yeah.
Good news for Stoke, because he's had a massive impact on him since he's come in. Just how good is he as a manager, Conor?
Top class. Top class. He's very, very bright. He'll have Stoke back in the Premier League, I have no doubt. I just texted him today and wished him well and thanked him, because when that news broke, I knew he was going to be leaving, but I thought he might have got the playoff, but this COVID situation's killed it. But yeah, he's top class. He's detailed. He's really analytical about everything. Like some of the changes he's made off the pitch for Northern Ireland, the senior pros just love him because of that. Not just because of that, but because he's added so much professionalism. And then the style of play, like I remember he hardly won a match in his first 10, 12 games, maybe even more, maybe won one game. No, but the contrast in style of play from the previous manager to him, I could see it. And some of the fans were going, not sure. And people around the association were, I was working in the office at the time in the IFA, and they were going, not sure about him. And I was like, no, the style of play, you can see what we're trying to do, just needs time. And luckily, the president and the chief executive backed him, because many managers would have been sacked. And the turnaround in Northern Ireland is unbelievable. Like the players play great for him, and he's embedded a style of play that you wouldn't have thought a country the size of Northern Ireland. Like we're a city. Like there's more people in Manchester than there's in Northern Ireland. The Greater Manchester area. There's like 2.2 million in the Greater Manchester, isn't it? 1.8 in Northern Ireland. So like if you think about that, if you selected the England team just from Manchester and tried to compete at international level, it'd be pretty difficult. And yeah, style of play, professionalism off the pitch. He's a qualified accountant, so he's obviously a sharp cookie.
Yeah.
And then he's a good man manager. Like he knows when to give rocket, and he knows when to put the arm around the shoulder. And I've learned quite a lot of him there.
So I've certainly seen it as I say, a Stoke fan. That did change in and around the club, and so certainly on the pitch. We had Rory Delap on the other day, and he was saying that things have changed and he's very much hands-on. So yeah, as you say, I'm going to hold you to that. Getting Stoke back in the Premier League, because it's something we're crying out for. Just going back to sort of your career, Conor, you were one of the youngest ever participants on the UEFA A licence. Must have been a bit of a proud moment, that.
Yeah, that came about. The only reason that came public knowledge was it said about the university giving me a grant. So they paid someone, so they looked into it, and then they found that out. I didn't really know. So yeah, and then the Times, I think it was, or no, the Guardian did a news story on it, and that was how that became public knowledge, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely been broke since. So I know for a fact there's been younger people since, but that's going back more than 10 years ago. So yeah, I would say I was learning and still am learning as a coach. So it's only a bit of paper, but it is a proud moment to say you're an A licensed coach, definitely.
There's certainly a lot of experience to go with that qualification. We met on the current FA Advanced Youth Award. How are you finding that course?
Love it, to be fair. Yeah, right. Love it, to be fair. Disappointed the last block we haven't been able to do it, but here it might be done online. And yeah, I haven't went through I've been to a lot of conferences. You can imagine I'm quite driven to improve, so I do read a lot and I do engage with education quite a lot. But I haven't been through a rigorous process in terms of coach education since my license, which was over 10 years ago. So to go through this has been like a breath of fresh air. I love it. You go for St George's for a few days, meet up with everybody, learn something new. They've got top speakers in, and yeah, I would highly recommend it to every coach. It's the FA, to be fair, doing a really good job on that course for sure.
Fingers crossed we can get everyone back together to complete the course. As you say, it's been a good journey over the season.
Definitely.
For me personally, probably the best course I've attended.
Yeah, I would agree.
Content. Just a bit of a personal one, really. Is there any difficulties you face as a head of coaching for anybody out there who wants to be a head of coaching?
Say it's just managing people. I wouldn't say I'm too. I wouldn't say there's something that strikes me as being really difficult about the role. It's managing people and applying it in a football context. So if you've got a bit of football and you're decent with people, then you'll be fine. I would say my biggest challenge is managing my time, because I coach the youth team as well. So I'm coaching nearly every morning and trying to do that. And then my weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So I actually work, I don't have a day off. I work literally work 7 days a week. It's Thursday, the players are off, but we train Thursday night. So it's been draining, to be fair. This break has come at a decent time from that point of view. But yeah, I would say that's the big thing, just trying to keep mentally engaged, because you wouldn't do it if you didn't like it, though. That's the other thing. So, and everybody works hard, and to be fair, in sport and football, but it's definitely difficult to work 7 days a week. And I wouldn't recommend that point to anybody. That's something that this time I've been reflecting and going, I got myself back into the bad habits I was doing in Northern Ireland before I left, of working 7 days a week. So I need to stop that moving forward, because that's not healthy for anybody.
I was going to jump on to the next question, but you touched on it. As head of coaching, do you still get out and dip your toes into getting a bit of coaching done?
Yeah, that's, to be fair, I love that part. It's not necessarily a must in my role. Like, not everybody in my job does that, but being a Cat 3, it's one of the benefits. We don't have 2 PDP coaches, so I'm the second PDP coach. So Danny Cadamatri is the lead coach, and then I assist him, and then I lead one day and he and assist him the other couple of days. So I get a good blend. Working with, we've got some decent players for Oldham, for our level, we're not bad. So it's certainly good watching them improve. and feeding bits into them and seeing them develop as young lads too. Like it's crazy to think, where see the current first years are finished now, and to see the improvement of them. I've because of the situation at Oldham, I've been head coach for at different periods. So there was a changeover in the summer. I was leading the group then, and mid-season the Cads went with the first team. I was leading the group, so I've had a good mix of leading and assisting. So it's certainly whetted appetite for more coaching.
Okay, time to put you on the spot then. Do you prefer developing coaches or developing players?
Players by far, but
Go on.
I do I do see the value in, like, I enjoy developing people. I really do, and that's I suppose one of the challenges of the role is, and linking to your previous question, is not doing it for them. Like if you see something, not jumping on it and going, "Oh, you should have done this," or telling players all the time, because if I do it for the coaches, then they might know why I'm doing it, and it's better educating them to affect more people rather than, because I'll not be there the next time that certain scenario happens. So they need to see it themselves. So that's the challenge of the role, and the skill of getting them on side, because again you're sort of giving them guidance, but not everybody. Thankfully, a good group of staff, like, but not everybody wants to hear this. They should do it this way. Um, you know, talking to people from other clubs, that certainly can be a challenge with some people. But yeah, developing players is there's no better feeling, because you're working with them on a daily basis. Well, or close to a daily basis, weekly basis anyway, for different training models. And yeah, you're just you're seeing training them on something, and then putting it into practice in the game is just really rewarding when you see and they get it and they score a brilliant goal, and the feeling is just, yeah. And when you're one of the main coaches, you're in the competitive side of it, like and you're emotionally engaged in the game. Whenever you're head of coaching, you're off watching the coach, watching the players, watching how he's reacting, trying to control or give him guidance of how to control his emotions and not be engaged, and take the broader look on it. And yeah, it's a different skill set, but certainly been great. And I would say one of the good things about working in England, if there's anybody from further afield listening to this, is the Premier League do great CPD. I'm on EHOC, Elite Head of Coaching, it's called. So I regularly, like, I was on a Zoom call this afternoon there, for example, and yeah, the support you get from the Premier League is brilliant. And they're, again, like the English FA, the Premier League's education program is really good, and it's bespoke for you. I've got mentors as well now, just been assigned to me. So I've got a girl, Paula Dunn from GB Para Athletics, head coach, working with me, and a skills mentor, Tim Rawlinson. So I'm looking forward to working with them, because they're developing me to then, for me to develop the coaches, to develop the players, and I'll get my wee fix of developing the players with these team.
Sounds like the perfect role to many. With the varying range of roles and responsibilities you've had in football, Connor, what advice, or what would be the main advice you would give to coaches looking for a career in the game?
Be inquisitive, be enthusiastic, be energetic, be committed, and just have a real desire to push yourself. I think it's a saturated market, obviously, because it's a national sport, and the world game as well. So rules in England in particular are hard to come by. But if you're willing to, put yourself out there and go and meet people and try and learn, and yeah, people want good people and want enthusiasm and energy, and because you affect the culture that you go into, whatever club you're at. If you're negative towards the culture, then you're not going to last too long. But if you can add value to the environment and the culture, then people go, "Oh, he's all right." And that's what happened to me with Northern Ireland, and that's why I progressed well there. And um, that'd be my biggest thing. Have a positive impact, even if you're, because at the start, no matter what job you go on, you're always, progressing in terms of responsibility. So if you're a young coach starting out, you're not going to come in and coach the youth team at a professional club. You have to start and work your way up. So always make a positive, no matter how big or small an impression is. Try and make it a positive one, and you know, leave your ego at the door if you like. Be willing to learn and want to learn.
I think that's some key advice, and hopefully people will take away from that. Just obviously, I've taken up a lot of your time today. What does the future hold for Conor now?
Good question. I try not to look too far ahead because you just don't know what's around the corner. You know, football, it could change. A week's a long time in football, as they say. So yeah, I try not to look too far ahead, but at some point I will try and move abroad, I think, and work in a different country again. I'll probably see England as my future longer term, but I would like to get an experience in a different part of the world. So I would imagine I'll do that at some point. I would also like to come out of football in a way and work in, with other sports, maybe Olympic athletes in some role. So that's sort of on my mind. If an opportunity comes up like that could be something I would look at. So yeah, what level I go to next is, and what role, I'm not sure, but I've certainly got ideas of key things ways I want to develop myself to ultimately become a head coach or an academy director, or just a senior decision maker in a football environment. So I enjoy that part.
I'm sure whichever path you go down, Conor, you'll be extremely successful in it. A little bit of a feature that we've got on the PCT podcast is just a quick fire question round.
Okay.
So obviously, you mentioned there that you've got quite a lot of contacts in the game, but we'll test that a little bit now. So what would you prefer, going back to Conor as a player, last-minute winner to get promoted or a last-minute winner to escape relegation?
Always looking up, so I'll go promotion.
Okay. Best friend in football?
Jared Boyle.
Toughest opponent?
Darren Gibson.
Best trainer?
It was more a memorable moment with Oliver Norwood, because when I was working with under 21s, I remember us doing a passing drill. Like, he was brilliant, obviously, he's a Premier League player, but I remember watching him and going, I've never met Beckham or seen Beckham up close, but saw the way Beckham strikes a ball, and thought, wow, that's class. And watching Norwood strike a ball, and I was like, wow, that is unreal. So yeah, Ollie
Norwood. Okay. Worst dressed teammate? Now that could be a player or a coach.
I'm just going to go Danny Calmatri because just because I can, in case he's listening.
Worst taste in music?
I would say our youth team in general, like they're horrendous. We had to have a word with them about their song choice. Like, it was, so I'm not sure who to blame for that, but yeah, our youth team at Oldham.
Best player you've coached?
Ooh. Probably Gavin White, possibly Jordan Thomas. With Jordan as I did with Gavin. Gavin had given his international debut, so he signed for Oxford 2 years ago, bought by Cardiff last year, so he's playing championship. Okay. He's senior international, scored in his debut, I think, if I remember right. So yeah, he's a talented boy.
Is there anyone you would recommend or you would like to hear on our podcast?
Any of the coaches on our AYA. There's a lot of good people on that. Simon always adds Simon Copley, to conversations on the AYA. Dean as well, United, Whitehouse, surname, Timmy as well. There's quite good conversations in our AYA, and that
we've got Timmy coming on at some point. He's committed to having a chat. Sai, obviously, with the current sort of circumstances, can't do it at the minute, but I've already nailed him for when everything's lifted. We'll get him on. As you mentioned, great guy to listen to, some great experience like yourself, and so those two names down and well.
If you get Sai on, ask him about. He'll tell a story he was on my A license, about the clown. Just say his A license presentation and the clown. He will probably cry of laughing, but he'll eventually tell you the story. Very funny. Very funny.
I've noted that down. So the clown with I might drop him a text after this, just to get a background on it. Brilliant. Conor, thank you. I just again want to say thank you for your time. And joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you and just get a feel for some of the experiences you've gained. Obviously, we'll see each other again on the AYA, but I do want to wish you all the success for the future, and hope you and your family stay safe during this pandemic.
Yeah, same to you, Martin, and look after yourself and your family, because that's the main thing at the minute. We're all re-evaluating everything, I think, and certainly very important time. So hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully catch up soon. Thank you very much, mate. Speak soon. With the way the modern game is evolving, analysis is becoming more and more prevalent within the game. If you're looking for easy analysis that can take it away from your hands and help you to get on with your coaching, recording has never been easier with VO. Simply place a camera up on the tripod and it records and clips all of your games, highlights and key coaching moments. Contact Conor at connor@vo.co and quote PCT podcast for some discounted rates. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the content that we're trying to bring to you. Don't forget, new episodes will be released every Monday. You can find us on the iTunes Store, Spotify, and if you want to see the video, you can see it on our YouTube channel, PCT Football Coaching.